Everyone, and welcome to the 17th episode of the Thespian podcast. On today's episode, we talk to the amazingly talented, gifted actress, singer, dancer, and all-around lovely human being, Laurianne Flynn. So without further ado, guys, let's hop into the 17th episode of the Thespian podcast. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 17th episode of the Thespian podcast. In today's episode, we talk to the amazingly talented, gifted actress, singer, dancer, and all-around lovely human being, Laurianne Flynn.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm good. I'm finally good now that our Zoom situation is good. How are you?
I'm good. I mean, as well as we can be now that our lockdown has continued. Yeah. But we're going to talk about some awesome stuff today. We're going to talk about Pride and Prejudice, Anything Goes, and much, much more. So it's going to be a great time. Yeah.
Nice. I'm excited.
So am I. But before we hop in, I always do some housekeeping. Again, like we were just saying, we're still on lockdown. So guys, you guys know what to do. Wear your mask. Wash your hands. Hand sanitizer is your best friend. Oh, and it is still Breast Cancer Awareness Month, so wear pink to show your awareness towards that. And Halloween's coming up, guys, and here in Montreal, it's actually happening. So if you can hand out in a safe distance, safety distance, and do what you need to do for kids during this time, I highly suggest you do. Do what you can to help contain this virus so that we are not locked down for another several months.
That's good. Good advice.
And so let's hop into some theater talk. So,
Okay.
Laurianne, the first question I usually ask everyone is, how exactly did you get into theater?
Okay, that's a good question. I actually started my life on the stage when I was 4 as a ballerina, and I danced that was my entire childhood, and until the age of 15, I did ballet 25 hours a week, and I was super dedicated. I was going to be a professional dancer, specific roles in the Nutcracker that I wanted. And then in Sec 4, I just started becoming super anxious, kind of depressed. It was just really bad for my mental health. And so I was supposed to just stop ballet for 2 months. And so I was in a Danse Études program, but for those 2 months, I was going to join the regular program at school, in high school. And for those 2 months, I joined the drama class type of thing. They had, there was music and art plastique, and then there was the dance section, and then I was just joining the regular kids that were doing a lot of drama classes. And then I realized that I really liked that, and it made me feel so much happier. And so I just quit ballet, and since then I have not done ballet again. And in Sec 5, I was just a regular student again in drama, and I got to do a bunch of projects, and I joined the theater troupe and all of that. And then I realized that I was really passionate about theater. And so when I went to Abbott, I remember open house, I was like, oh, I can't go in theater. This is not stable. Like, I have to do something serious about my life. And I remember talking to Jason Howell, the head director. No, well, he's just very invested in the theater department at John Abbott. And I looked at him and I was like, okay, so I kind of want to do theater, but I feel like I should do math. It's better for my future. And then he was just like, no, it's cool, but just join ALC instead of professional theater, and like that you kind of just get a taste of it, a feel, and then see if that's really what you like. And that's what I did. I did 1 year in ALC, and then I realized that I love the theater, talked to some prof theater kids in the green room, and then realized that I really wanted to do prof theater, and now I'm super glad I did it. So there you go.
Wow. So to actually talk about ALC, I'm going to talk about one of your roles that you did, Reno Sweeney. Now, a lot of people know this from if you're a big musical theater buff, doing Anything Goes for sure. But how was your first big show at Abbott?
I'll be honest, I don't know if a lot of people know this, but I was actually terrified. Like that show, although it was an amazing opportunity and I loved the rehearsal period, the shows brought me so much anxiety, you have no idea. And normally, I don't think a lot of people know that about me. But like, so I loved it. I loved the rehearsal period, made so many friends, and that's really what made me want to go into theater. But on stage, I was just terrified. I knew that I wasn't comfortable acting. I knew that it was my first year doing like real, like a real like acting show, a real musical theater show. I didn't have like that much experience in singing either. I was really just a dancer. And so to do all of that really made me feel like I wasn't up to that role. And so I felt super anxious, but I still loved, like all the behind the scenes when I just like didn't have that pressure of performing, when I was just like learning my lines, learning about the character, working one-on-one with Jason, or working with Johnny and Pat and all of the cast. That was great, but I was really anxious with that time. I remember that March break, I I would like sip on tea 24 hours just because I was so scared to lose my voice. I would rehearse in a little, like, we were at a cottage and I was in my room just rehearsing, repeating my lines because I was so scared. So it was a great opportunity, but it wasn't like just, oh my God, Reno Sweeney, so fun. Like, it was a lot of work.
Wow. Well, yes, for sure. A lot of work, but honestly, I remember going and seeing it, and if you didn't tell me that, I wouldn't have known, because
Really?
yes, it was very well done.
Well, thank
You're
you.
welcome. But yes, it's like the entire cast on that show. I mean, let's be honest, Jeremy Lewis,
Of course, I don't know
Jeremy
why I didn't mention
Lewis,
him.
Pat,
Oh,
you. I mean, like, look at the cast there, just in itself, just those three. John, like, there's so many like amazing people a part of that
oh yeah.
cast. That's true.
And it makes the show, it makes such a huge like difference when you connect with them and they're so talented and they're such like hardworking people. Like you mentioned Jeremy, like working with Jeremy is like a gift because he's just like so invested, such a generous actor, and like yeah, so for sure. It's such a great learning experience to work with people like that, for sure.
So I'm actually going to jump in and put in your last role, or one of the last roles you did at Abbott, because sadly your last show got canceled at Abbott. But you also did another classic, um, almost Disney esque show come the end. So how was Peter and the Starcatcher with your entire cast?
See, that was when I was almost done, and I had much more time to study the craft of acting. And so, even though I'm a perfectionist and it's never going to be good enough, I finally felt like, okay, I'm much more in control, and I know what I'm doing. I'm more aware of what I'm doing, and so I loved it. I remember that summer. I read like the Peter and the Starcatcher novel, and I was in the library, and I was like, I want to get Molly. I love her so much as a character, and I love how she kind of comes from like Anne and the Green Gables. and she's inspired by that. And the whole story I loved. I love Disney. I love like comedy, and there's a bit of like musical theater to it, but it's not like a musical theater show. So the show was a blessing, and I love my ensemble. So it was the craziest, most awesome experience, honestly. And I remember the last show, we just had so much fun on stage. And so I'm not even that sad that I didn't have another show, because it was like that moment we kind of all subconsciously knew that this was our last performance ever, and we were gonna put it our all. And it was so much fun. The best opportunity. I'm really grateful.
Honestly, that was one of the shows too. Like, it was my last show that I saw at Abbott because of the lockdown, right? But
Hmm.
Peter and the Starcatcher, I found that it was just not that like any show at Abbott isn't visually pleasing, but you walked in and you're just transported directly onto the ship.
Yeah.
And as you guys can see down below, when I edit this, you're gonna see all the amazing behind the scenes stuff in regards to them making all the amazing set design and whatnot. It was incredible, honestly, from beginning to end. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you. And you're right. Like all of the tech crew, like they were so invested as well, and they worked so hard, and they were so good. Like, the whole team was cool. Like, yeah. So.
Also, you did Pride and Prejudice, which is
Yes.
another huge show to many theater goers because of Jane Austen. So, how was sharing the stage also with third years and jumping onto the Jack Theater stage in Jane Austen's amazing book?
Hmm. I knew, like, so the moment that I read Pride and Prejudice, because it was the first time, I was like, I've heard about it, but like I've never read it. And when I read it, I was like, oh my God, I'm in. Like that's the show that I want to do. Um, and it was kind of the role that I had was not at all what I would have expected to play, but the experience was exactly what I expected, and it was even better. Like just all the dance rehearsals. Oh, it was so fun, and we kept laughing, and like, and Tracy Lee was a huge part of it because she was so like supportive, but also wanted us to feel like we had our own like power as an actor to decide to make decisions. And so she was just a very good director, because she kind of brought us all closer into one family. And it was like there wasn't stress in rehearsal, and it wasn't like une hiérarchie. I don't know how to say that, but it wasn't like any,
Hierarchy
there
almost?
was it, yeah, and it wasn't like a toxic environment. And I think so she really managed to make it such a fun experience. And it was so cool because like there were like a lot of third years in Pride and Prejudice, and I just like I've always looked up to them. Even when I was in Anything Goes, you guys were all the prof theater kids. And so just growing up and then having like, Walsh playing like Elizabeth, and seeing that she wasn't nervous. She never seemed anxious, and like she was just like always just like calm and confident, but like not like a cocky confident, like a real confidence that you just have, and because you just know what you're doing, and you're there for the right reason, and you just love what you do. And so I think I was just very inspired by that. I was just inspired by how they were all just like, we're not like acting or whatever. We're just performing, we're just playing the parts, we're dancing, we're having fun, and that's all that matters. I don't know if that makes sense, but they're all
100%.
super sweet. And oh yeah, we have really good memories about, especially the dances. We were all like super, like, oh yeah.
I remember seeing you guys doing the dances because like we would go upstairs and be in like our dark place in,
Costume.
in Dr. Faustus, and like talk about the trap door and coming out of it and all
Oh
that.
my
But then we would
God.
pass by you guys and we see like this amazingly elegant dance, and we'll be like, "Hey, this is so two different worlds."
Oh
Um,
yeah.
but yeah, I remember I had Erin Walsh on this a couple of episodes ago, and she was saying she's like, people people kept telling me that this is like the role I should be playing and whatnot, but she was terrified as well. You would have never, I know, right? You would never,
Really?
but she found that it was a lot at certain times, which honestly,
It is.
It is. But that's the thing. Like us third years, or at least I find our group was very. We were so tight knit that like any second years that would be added in per se would definitely be a part of that troop
Oh
for
yeah.
sure. We were definitely trying to like just play with you guys because we were so inspired by you guys as well. So I can speak for my ensemble to say that for sure because every time we'd go and we'd be like, oh my god, I cannot wait to act with these guys.
And we felt that like since the beginning when we arrived at like in prof, like we felt that you guys were welcoming. And I think that's not always the case with like different years. And I remember like I didn't have a cabaret this year, but last year when it was your cabaret, I was so sad because it was like saying a goodbye and I was like, we're like oh I was super emotional. I was like, am I gonna be this emotional for my own cabaret? And so I think it's because you guys have like especially for me who started in ALC, so I started at the same time as you guys. You've always been like the theater department for me, and everybody in theater, everybody that I can go to or like look up to and stuff like that. And yeah, I've always felt that, and I'm super grateful for like all of you guys super welcoming, like being super welcoming to us. And I think it's the best thing because then it helps other groups being like, okay, we'll also welcome the next year, and then they'll also welcome the next years, and then it's just like a very tight unit, a very tight department, which is amazing and very important for like acting, you know.
Oh, for
And
sure. I mean, if you who you work with, I mean, you know what I mean? Like, especially with shows that like some of the stuff we do could definitely injure people. You know what I mean? We were in
especially those
50
days.
dogs where we were
Oh,
literally lifting
true.
up Chance into almost the rafters type thing. If we just didn't trust him, you know what I mean? Or if he didn't trust us, you know what I mean? Like it's just
Yeah.
the thing with theater is it's a group effort, right? And I find that if you don't become a theater family, as we say, in Jack Theater, it's you know what I mean. It could be almost jarring. I find
I agree. And am I mistaken, or there was somebody who actually got injured though during 15 Dogs?
more than likely a lot of people got injured in that show because
Okay.
not because of that, but because of excuse me, being on all fours.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay. That was like a really like physically demanding show.
very much so. So
Oh
yeah,
my God.
yeah. But I'm also going to hop into ALC now. So
Hmm.
ALC and theater, prof theater. What is the difference for you, even for people that might want to jump into ALC or prof? Because I do have people that are just going into first year that wanted to know.
Ooh.
And also, what exactly is the what would you say to someone who might want to just pursue theater as a whole?
Okay, so I'll start with the first question and then I'll go to the second. I think ALC is great if you just love to do theater, but you know that it's not going to be as a career, um, and that you just maybe want to have that so you have this community and stuff like that, but it's not necessarily what you're going to pursue because there's less time studying the craft for sure, and you don't have as much training, you don't get the actor credit at the end, so it's very different. But for me, for example, who didn't know if I wanted to pursue like a career in the arts, it was perfect because it was just like it made me super familiar with the theater department, but then it made me realize, okay, that's really what I love. But it could have also done the opposite of like, okay, you know what? I like it, just like a glimpse of it during my life, but this is not what I want to do for a living. I'm going to study more, focus more on like school. Because prof is really about theater. And it's like you're there all the time and you have to love it. in order to like succeed and, you know, graduate. Because after that, when you graduate, it's not like, hey, golden ticket for Hollywood. It's like you have nothing after this, and you have to really find your own projects, and it's really scary. But I say, like, do what you love. So do it, and then if it doesn't work, you can always go back to school. There's other differences for ALC. Well, there's less. Oh, there's actually almost there's as many shows because you still get to do 3 shows and 3 shows in prof. So if you're just there for like the performing aspect of it and you just love to be on stage, then you can do ALC, and they're great shows. Honestly, what's something really cool about it is that they do epic shows. And they normally get to do more musical theater shows than we do. So that's a plus. And if you want to go to university in theater, then I guess it's a perfect little gap. You do 2 years, maybe you do more theater on the side, not related to school, and then you're ready for like a real theater program at university. Now, the second question was
If someone
what I
wants
should...
to, yeah, if someone wants to jump into theater as like a craft, what would be your like words of wisdom for them?
Take notes. I don't, I'm like a note freak. I always take notes. I say, okay, you know what I'm gonna say is that for me, when I got into theater, I was like, okay, so I need somebody to tell me exactly how to play this role. Okay, what exact emotion am I supposed to play at this moment? And how do I say this sentence? I have to learn it by heart. Okay, I'm gonna say it like this. And I was such a perfectionist because in ballet, it's always like, tell me exactly how to place my arm so it's perfect. But then in theater, it's the complete opposite. It's about just breaking all those layers, your ego, and not caring too much about how you're being perceived, actually not caring at all, even though it's hard, and actually just listening and like understanding the story and surrendering, and then like just understanding what the person is telling you and just react the way you would react, or react the way you think your character... Okay, I'm going way too deep. I like study theater and I love it. So I'm like I'm just trying to say, don't try to play the part and be perfect or be the best actress. Honestly, just trust that you know how to do this, have fun, and make it your own unique flavor, because that's the only way you're gonna like get somewhere. Because if you're trying to be somebody else in life, it's not gonna work. I tried. So there you go.
I mean, it's
Oh,
true. It's like you if you are that invested into doing any job, you know what I mean? And this is a job of passion. I've always said it. It's
oh
just
yeah.
if you love it, just take the leap, jump towards it, because you really want to it's a very fulfilling life when you have something that you are that happy about doing every day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I find that that's a lot with theater, and hence why we have people who are just so invested into the art and just want to continue putting on stuff. Even during dark times like these, where we need it the most, people are still writing it. People are still doing stuff for it.
Yeah.
Um, if you don't have passion for it, you wouldn't do that, right? And I find that if you guys are asking these questions and you guys are thinking, okay, do I want to hop into this or do I want to pursue this in theater? Then just jump into it. Worst comes to worst, you switch programs. You know what I mean?
Exactly. It's
It's
like,
sorry, you were saying?
no, but I didn't want to interrupt you, but it's just on what you're saying. Like, you just have to take the risk and know that you have a safety net. Like, you can go back to school. We're like fortunate enough to live in Canada. Like, you can, you know, get another side job or whatever. So it's like, just do it, and like know that at least you've tried it and you gave it your all. And I think that's the best thing to do.
Yeah. We can talk about this all the time, guys. If you guys have any questions, you can either leave them down below or just message me. I am very open in talking about the theater program whenever I possibly can. But I want to hop into a role that you did in second year. when you played in Laramie. So how was playing
Oh.
such a in such like compounded place where you were just in the studio doing a show?
Okay, so you want me to answer based on like the studio or just how my experience about the Laurianne
Just
project?
in general for Laramie project.
Oh my God. See, that's funny because I didn't even remember, but it was such a huge show. Um, I think what was really important and something that I learned from Laramie, which was the first show I did after Anything Goes. It was how humble you had to be and how generous you had to be. Because I think in Anything Goes, I was 17, I was like fresh out of high school. I'm like, oh, this is so cool. Like it's flashy and red dresses and like wigs and all that like luxury. And that little like, yeah, performing. It's very that bling, like that bling. And then in Laramie is the complete opposite. And you realize that like it's really not about being like the cop. It's about being that cop who actually like saw these things, saw these pictures um, of a terrible, terrible event that happened. And that kind of made me realize what the role, like what the job of an actor is. It's not just about being on stage, being like, look at me. It's actually about telling a story that is so much more important and so much bigger and that can change the world and that can help not have that thing happen again. And I think it made me realize, yeah, like, okay, that's my job as an actor. My job as an actor is not to just say, hi, like anything goes. Like that can be awesome. Like we need that. But it's also about like telling really intense stories that have to be told. And something that I had to do was also become kind of stronger, but at the same time to have your heart very like soft. It's weird. It's like you have to be strong enough to not let that story destroy you, but you have to be very soft to understand the story and what it's trying to get across. Like I would listen, like every morning I would go to school early and then I would just listen to the real cop talk about her story, like and how she saw all the details. And I would save pictures, and I hated looking at the pictures, but I forced myself to because then I was like, okay, this is how she felt. Like it's disgusting. This isn't about my performance or how I'm saying like, oh, he was having tears across his face. Like, I can't do that. I really have to just tell the story because it's not about me. And so it was a really good learning experience after Reno Sweeney. And it made me like acting more because it made me realize how important it was. So, yeah.
Honestly, I feel like that's why I hopped into theater was just the stories that are being told. And I find that I've always been the person that puts others before themselves. I've always
Okay.
been that person. So it's just when there's a story that needs to be told and a message that someone needs to hear, I think that's why I hopped in theater, because these stories are that compelling that
Oh, yeah.
can actually help someone that is very down on themselves or think that something's wrong with them or whatnot. There's always some form of art, whether it be theater, music, um, art in general, um, that talks to them in a way. And I find that
Absolutely.
performance art, theater, um, is definitely one of the biggest ones because it's life brought to the stage, basically, right?
Absolutely. And I agree. I feel like what's super cool about the arts, and especially right now, is that you're kind of changing people's perspectives and opening them to the truth, which is that we're all equal and it's not a color or a gender or a sexual orientation or whatever that makes you better or worse. It's and I think that's the thing. I think I don't know which teacher said this, but they said artists change the world, politicians don't. Like politicians don't, artists do. And I think that couldn't be more like accurate.
Oh, for sure. They say from the page to the stage, right? And if
Hmm.
I find that when we have amazing writing happening and then it gets put onto a stage and people see it and absorb it,
Hmm.
there's just something that invests them to do what they've seen. You know what I mean? So if it's something very empowering, then they put it into their own hands and they go against should be going what they should be going against. And right now, we have a lot of problems happening in the world, right? We were just talking about
No kidding.
inequality and whatnot. And I cannot wait to see after COVID stops, continues to be like just goes away, if we want to put it that way, to see what happens with all these stories, because it's going to be crazy to see all these Black Lives Matter theater that tends to happen, because you're going to have that happening. You're going to have stuff about the end of the world potentially because of COVID. You know, you're going to have a lot of these big stories happening. So hopefully it gets into the right hands.
We hear a lot about on social media, we see it more and more. And I think what is interesting is to see like the after COVID, when we'll be back on like the streets, like, is that going to have had a positive impact? And like, I think if there's one thing that can come out like of 2020 is, you know, more justice for everybody. Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
More awareness too.
For sure. Because it's locked up and now everyone's starting to see what has been hidden. You know what I mean? Where
Sure.
After George Floyd, now everyone's seeing a lot of injustice happening. Even it's been happening for too long, way too long.
Yeah.
But now it's finally to the surface, and hopefully we continue to strive for equal, because it needs to happen. It needs to happen.
And even in the theater department, I don't know if you watched this video. It's an amazing video of this girl, and she makes us realize how it's like a lot of people from the Black community, they couldn't have certain roles. And then for like people from like, for example, I sang Your Daddy's Son, and I really shouldn't, but I wasn't even aware of it. And now I'm aware of it, and I'm like, oh my God, you know? And I think it's like we have to realize, yeah, I made a mistake. I wasn't aware of this, but I have to learn and I have to change. And I think that's the thing. Just bringing the awareness is the first step to changing. And in theater, it's happening a lot with like songs and roles and stuff like that. And so I think that's great. That it's getting better for sure.
If we want to talk about the arts too, and like inequality there, it's pretty bad that we need to wait this long for there to be actual ballet shoots for people of color, because ballet shoots took a long time to actually be in the right skin color, which is terrible.
God, yeah.
Yeah. There's so many of these things.
There's so many. That's the thing, and we're so not aware of it. And like, I remember I was like, no, I truly believe that everybody's equal, but then we act differently without being aware of it, and that's the danger. Because yes, you can say that you're supportive and all of that, but like until you realize like your actions and their consequences and the effect and how other people can understand it or interpret it, we have to change. But I think that's why it's good. Like please, like if anybody's hearing this and they are like, okay, well this I want, like this is how I feel, please listen to this. Like we're listening now, so we're open. So tell us more.
And strive for change, guys, because this world needs to get better and not worse during our dark times.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so let's hop into something a bit more lighthearted, and let's hop back into theater. Why don't we?
Okay.
And I want to know what has been your most challenging role and what has been your most rewarding role.
I would say that's hard. I would say that my most rewarding role was Molly, just because I wanted her so much and I worked on it so much, and I was finally starting to let go of the need to be really good, or the fear of having to be perfect and knowing that I'm not where I want to be as an actor. and just being like, you look, this is where I am. I worked as hard as I could. Now just enjoy it. And so I think I really accomplished that during my last performances, because the first performances, all I could hear in my head on stage was, you're not good enough. You're going to forget your lines. This isn't working, all of that. And then I was crying between the shows. And then at the end, I was like, you know what? Like, just let it go. Accept that you're not where you want to be, or accept that you are just you, and share that. And I think I managed at the end, and it made the biggest difference in the world because I was so much happier doing it. So that was my most, I think all of them like are super rewarding but very challenging at the same time, because you have to overcome so many things and every character is different. But then after that, you overcome the challenges and you get rewarded. So I'll just say my last one, yeah, Molly, for both of them. So
That's the thing too. I find that like you also learn so much, not just about like the role in general, but yourself.
oh my God,
In
yeah.
every performance you do, and it's going to change. It's going to continue to change, even when you look back on it. So, like, let's say you did have a DVD. I don't know if you do for Peter and the Starcatcher. You can look back, and then Molly, you're going to be invested even more into her thought process the minute you watch it again.
That is so true, but see, like, and that's the thing that happens. I'm always like, now that I've acquired more knowledge, it's like, oh, I wish I could do Reno again. I wish I could do like Reggie again from Laurianne Project. Like every time you're just like, oh, now I want to do it. Now I'm ready. Now I understand her. It's like even now, I was like working at a bar and I was like making a martini, and I still remember one of my lines from Reno, like, make it with rye and put a cherry in it instead of an olive. And that was like a joke and stuff. But like for me, I was just so like, I have to say the line perfectly. And it's like, even now I think about other lines, I'm like, oh, that was what it meant. Or, oh my God, like, but the more you just live as a human being, the more you can connect with like a variety of characters. And so there's also that plays into like that whole, I want to go back and play those roles again.
And I think that like it's because of what's been what's been taught to us, that it automatically just gets into your head. Like I've always had a good memory, but it's crazy that I can probably still do most of the role for Find Me because I've done it twice. You know what I mean?
Oh, true.
So it's crazy how I can just probably pick it up and I'll know it.
And what about Shakespeare text?
Shakespeare text is always going to be in your head. No, you can literally just quote the first line and then magically everything's going to come into place.
I know.
It's rhyme. So it automatically sticks into your head. Think about music, right? Certain melodies stick into your head and you sing the song, right? Same thing like Shakespeare.
Oh, it probably is, because it's not like regular text. You don't talk like that like nowadays. So it's true. It's just like once you've learned it, it's long to learn. But then once you've learned it, it's like it's engraved in you. Yeah, it's part of you.
But yeah, so guys who are just coming into theater, I highly suggest you also read the classics, because you're gonna find the most acting in that too, because it's meant to be so over the top. Especially Shakespeare, it's definitely over the top. Where it's very dramatic, very tragic, very comedic. Some of the comedy you're probably not going to know, but that's okay, because eventually you'll find out what exactly it means.
But then just to do a little like side note on that, if you are reading Shakespeare, go on like nofearshakespeare.com or whatever, because then you can have the Shakespeare text, which I don't ever understand before like 24 hours of studying that text, and then you have like the modern version, and that's where you can actually understand a bit of the story. Like, so I don't know, like for me, if I was like starting Shakespeare, I need that, because it's another language.
It's easy too, because like now they're starting like Romeo and Juliet and whatever so early on, and I'm like, that's one of the most complex plays when you think about it that way too.
So I know I did it in Sec 1. And I played like Juliet and stuff, and I had no idea what I was doing. Like, oh my God, yeah, that's so true. Ugh.
But yeah, if you guys want to hop into it, definitely No Fear Shakespeare is the place to go. So before I hop into our last two questions, I'm going to say who's on next episode. So next episode, we're having Kate Huxham join us. From my ensemble. I haven't seen Kate in a while, so it's going to be great to hop into everything 15 Docs, everything Dr. Faustus, and beyond.
She's really nice.
Yes, I love
Just
Kate.
saying.
Kate's amazing. But we also have another amazing guest, Laurianne, Flynn. So let's hop back in. You were just a part of a music video. So do you want to talk a bit about that? If not, no worries. But how was being on set for a music video?
Well, it's funny because I have 4 coming up, 4 music videos, and I'm actually playing the girlfriend, and I think for all 4 of them. So maybe I'm getting typecast, but it's different. It's very fun, but it's different because it's a lot of like facial reactions, but no words. So you like sometimes, and you know, when you watch the music video, it all kind of makes sense because there's all the effects and the song is playing. But when you're just filming, there's like it's silence and you can just have like lights here, and it's so not. You have to like create the whole images in your hand, like all the images in your head, and so sometimes it's just like you just have to do a lot of facial expressions, and I'm still working on that. So it's like, oh, this is cringy, and then yeah, so I have to work on that. So it's a learning curve for sure because I've never done that, but it's super fun and it's not very stressful because it's like, you know, you're just there and it's kind of improv on the spot, and it's like, okay, we want this from you, we want this from you, and so it's kind of almost dancing in a way, and I'm so used to dancing, so it's almost like dancing with emotions, like very obvious emotions, and it's really cool. And the one that's coming up next on Halloween is Cleopatra. He's super kind, and he's a really good rapper. And it's just like a spooky Halloween theme, and so that's exciting. And then the other ones, well, haven't come out yet, so I can't really talk about those. But all of them are just fun because they're all like different worlds. The artists are all different, and they all have their different visions, but they also are very passionate about what they're trying to like get across. So it's just like you're just there, and you're like, okay, I'm here for you. I'll support your project. Like, let's do it and let's make it the best we can. And it's just exciting. It's cool. It's like a cool way into the industry.
For sure. And was this like your first like filming experience as well?
No, I did a few when I was in Abbott. And there's one that I did, like I did a music video, but that is also a scene. In French. It's called Le Nouveau Guide de l'Amour by Émile Roy. It's on YouTube, and he's a great videographer. And I think that was my first experience. But he was super kind, super chill, and so it really helped me kind of get comfortable with that whole concept of music videos.
Good. So my last question to you is,
yes,
what are you looking forward to in the future? What is your plan for the future in regards to theater and the arts?
Oh, Lord. I've been asking myself that every day, obsessing over that question since I graduated. It's funny because 2 months ago, oh my God, I don't even know how to like start this question. So basically, let's go back to when I graduated Abbott. So I'm technically registered for musical theater school, and I was supposed to go this year at Sheridan, which is in Toronto, but there was just something in me that was like, I'm not ready for school again. I'm exhausted. I can't. I just felt it so strongly. I was like, I have it. I have this opportunity. I should take it. And I was like, I can't. I just don't feel mentally ready. I feel like burnt out. I just need time for myself to understand where I want to go. And so they very kindly accepted to defer my application until 2021. And so I have a year to figure out if I'm going to musical theater or if I'm not. And I'm asking myself this every day. And I still have no idea. So I'm really taking it day by day. But right now, I'm just going on Casting Montreal, and I'm trying to get as many gigs as I can. just so I get familiar with the filming industry, which is different from the musical theater. And I guess I'll see where I'm at with the acting industry in like February when I have to make my big decision, and then see if, okay, am I more of like a stage actress, or do I want to be more of like a camera actress? And so I don't know yet. I'm interested in both, but I don't know. And I'm also, some days I'm just like, I don't like the industry anymore. I feel like it's too much of like social media, and it's like overwhelming, and it's like, TikTokers are becoming the actors of our days, and it's just like, is this really what I want to get into? Is that how I'm going to help the world? So I ask myself a lot of questions, but I know that I love to teach. I'd love to teach at Abbott, but only once I've done a lot of projects that I'm happy that I did. So I don't know. I'm in this like phase where I'm still really confused, and I'm really like taking it day by day and kind of letting the universe guide me.
Nothing too with like just our industry in general. There's so many layers to it.
Oh
There's so many
yeah.
layers to it. So it's trying to pick one, you know what I mean, might be a difficult thing, but it's also the fact too, like now that everyone's getting into it, it's almost like you're one of a bunch, you know what I mean?
Oh my God, yeah. For sure. I always feel like that. Like one tiny fish in the sea, and I'm like, why bother? Oh my God, totally feel that. Because
And Montreal is so like it's so compacted, especially with artists. There's so many here.
I know. And it's like, and then sometimes you just feel like, do I have something to say? Like, do I have something to share? Like, am I just gonna like, fade in this sea of people trying to express themselves? So for sure, there's always that little back feeling. But I guess you have to just be very true to like who you are, and share who you are, and just hope that it can help you pay for a house eventually.
That's the thing too, though. Like if you continue to do casting Montreal and you come to a point that you're like, I don't know, you can either pick one or you know what I mean. Like it's you'll find your way for sure.
Thank you, but so
You're
will
welcome.
you. We all will, even though we just don't feel like we are.
Yes, exactly. Especially during this time, like that's the thing. Like a lot of people, they don't know what they need to do. They don't know what they want to do because you're locked up, right?
Yeah.
And you just get in your own head.
Oh
But
my God, yeah.
for sure, but you guys will all find your way. You too, Laurianne, you will find your way. And yeah, so thank you guys for joining us on the 17th episode of the Little Thespian
Yeah.
podcast. Um, So, as for every episode, I'm going to shine a light on Laurianne. And then we will see you guys on the 18th episode of the Thespian Podcast with Kate Huxham. And it's going to be a great time as we move into November. It's already crazy. We've already done this since August, and we continue to strive on. And I'm going to continue to have guests until it literally runs out, which is almost impossible.
That's
So,
insane.
so Laurianne, to shine a light on you, it radiates through the Zoom call just how passionate you are about this art, even though it came in a random time when you went to an open house. It's still you are still part of the family. You will always be a part of the family. It is radiant through the Zoom call of how passionate you are and how much you actually love this art and how much you care for people. It is shown. So thank you for being on, and I really hope and pray that you find your way through theater in whatever way it comes.
Thank you. That's very kind. And I wish you all the best, and with this podcast as well. And thank you so much for having me. It's super cool. It's super fun. Thank you for being super patient with the Zoom and like all of that.
No
So
problem.
always a pleasure, and I wish you all the best.
You too.
Sincerely.
Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you soon. Okay, Lauren?
Yeah. Take care. Bye. Thank you.
The lights are off. The curtain has fallen, and it's time to say goodbye. Thank you all for joining us on the Little Thespian Podcast. If you have any questions or concerns, please don't hesitate to ask, either down below or on any of our platforms. On the next episode of the Thespian podcast, we talk to the amazingly talented, gifted actress and all-around amazing human being, Kate Huxham. I truly cannot wait to talk to Kate. It's been a while, but I'm so glad to have her on episode 18 of the Little Thespian podcast, where we're going to talk all things VFX, we're going to talk all things Dr. Faustus, all things 15 Dogs, and beyond for this amazingly talented artist on episode 18 of the Little Thespian podcast. I truly cannot wait, and I hope you guys cannot wait either, when we now shift gears into a new month with an amazing guest on episode 18 of the Little Thespian podcast. Thank you guys for watching / listening to this episode of the podcast. Thank you, Laurianne, for being on. It was great catching up with you and knowing that you're doing well during such a crazy, crazy time. Thank you all for watching and listening. If you want to show support, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to us here on YouTube. It helps us out tremendously. Also, ring the bell to stay notified on all future videos, because there's going to be many, many more coming to this channel, so you guys are definitely going to want to check that out, especially for spooky month, because we're going to have some Halloween themed stuff coming. So thank you all for watching / listening to this. This is your host, Matthew Crandall, telling you guys to shine bright, and I will see you all on the next Little Thespian podcast.